Hey everyone, earlier today Square Enix released a post talking about the upcoming job adjustments coming in the next two patches, which is going to be the normal mode raid patch as well as the savage raid patch coming 2 weeks after that. In the first paragraph he talks about the congestion issues during early access for Dawntrail. I personally haven't had any of those, but for those that are dealing with it he would like to apologize for that. And then he also talks about how it's been a joy to watch people play as they have reached record numbers of people playing simultaneously. And then of course we go into the job adjustments, which is the main thing that I want to talk about in this video. So Monk. While it was our aim to preserve Monk's playstyle from 6.x series, several changes to their core abilities, Stacks of Fury chief among them, have significantly changed how it feels to play the job. We discovered certain actions had incorrect potencies, as well as an error pertaining to the requirements to apply Stacks of Fury. We plan to address these issues in point 1, which would result in improved effectiveness of area of effect effects. This will also necessitate minor adjustments to the job HUD. My apologies again for Monk's inadequate performance. Now, the main thing with Monk that I know about, because my Monk is still level 90, but I have played around with it a little bit, is that right now the rotation is a little bit fucked, in the sense that what they meant for Monk to be is that you use your skills that give you the balls on your job gauge, and then you use the skills that consume the balls from your job gauge. At least that's how I feel like Monk is intended to be played right now. The problem is that an unbuffed Dragon Cake will still be a potency gain because it allows you to utilize more buffed boot shines essentially. So normally what you would do is you would only use your buff gaining actions when you're in the correct stance for them, and then also when your balls are empty, and you would only use your buffed actions when you have balls to like consume for them. The problem that is right now is you can literally do boot shine and then unbuffed Dragon Kick to start your like combo string of going from one form to the next, and then when you get back to your first stance you just do Dragon Kick boot shine again. So kind of cursed at the moment. I'm pretty sure this is what they are basically going to be trying to fix when it comes down to Monk. And then I'm not quite sure like the improved effectiveness of area of effect attacks and such is going to be, but the main like bug fix, I guess you could say, is that like it just doesn't really work the way it's intended to work, and I hope that with this change they're gonna make Monk play the way it's intended to be played. Astrologian adjustments received considerable feedback concerning Astrologian, specifically the difficulty of play during damage burst phases, which we plan to address in point 1. Light speed, which is essential in these phases, will have its recast time adjusted and will also be made into a charged action. We're also planning to shorten the recast time of their 2 draw actions and adjust the potency of Macrocosmos. Now, light speed change is something that especially Lily from my old static has been wanted for years. Basically, light speed had like, what was it, a 90-second cooldown I think, and it did not have any charges to it, but you needed it for your 2-minute burst window because you needed to weave so much during that 2-minute burst. So you were essentially just forced to sit on light speed for 30 seconds and you could never use it anywhere else as a movement tool or something, which is kind of like what I feel like it was intended to be for as well. So shortening the recast time, great. Making to a charged action, even better. So now you can basically always save a charge for your burst window, and then you can probably use it like once outside of burst as well for movement. So I think that's just going to be a great change. Adjusted potency for Macrocosmos, not quite sure what I feel about that. I'm not really an Astrologian player, so if it's just better then good I guess. And then shortening the recast time of their 2 draw actions, again, I'm not 100% sure what this is going to be, like how much are they going to be reducing this by, we'll see. Maybe they make it into 30 seconds so you can play cards more often. Maybe they turn it into 45 seconds so you can like draw in advance for like a burst window or something, because right now I believe the thing you do is you hold on to your damage buff cards from the 1-minute buffs to the 2-minute buff window, and then you play that card to draw new cards and then play the second card that you draw as well for DPS. So maybe this will have an effect on that. Then Viper, newly released in patch 7.0, we've received feedback pertaining the busyness of their skill rotation. To that end, we are planning several improvements, including the easing of directional requirements and changes to the effects of several actions. We're aiming to implement these changes in point 5, though we also intend to make some smaller adjustments to the range of certain abilities in point 1. Now, what I hope that this means is that when it comes down to the easing of directional requirements, that they are just talking about the Dreadwinder combo, because there's not that many positionals in Viper. You just have 2 on Dreadwinder, and you have 2 on your combo finishers, I guess. Technically 4 skills, but you're only gonna press 1 of them at the end of your combo string. But Dreadwinder is the only part in your rotation where you have to do a flank and a back positional back to back in like 2 GCDs. But outside of that, positionals are quite easy to hit on Viper and very non-existent really, where you could literally be in front of the boss for like 30 seconds not hitting positionals almost, if you like pull enough resources for that. So I'm hoping that when they're talking about taking away positionals, that it might just be about Dreadwinder. Same thing with like the changes to the effects of several actions. I'm hoping that this kind of pertains to the range of abilities that they're talking about here as well, because another thing about Dreadwinder is that when you use it and you have to use your 2 off-global cooldowns, if you have to disengage slightly from the boss, you might not be able to use that second off-global cooldown because you would be like clipping into your GCD, which is also something that you don't want to do. So that could then also go back to talking about the busyness of the skill rotation, where it feels like there's too many things to press when like you need to slightly disengage from the boss or something like that. So I'm hoping that everything in this paragraph of text means that we're taking away positionals from the Dreadwinder combo, like if they are even taking them away at all. I wouldn't mind if they stayed, because I think it's fun, but if they are going to take away positionals, please let it be from that and not anywhere else. And then the changes to actions as well as the range of abilities, I'm hoping they're just talking about giving your off-global cooldowns more ranged, like they did with the continuation skills from Gunbreaker, for example, so that you can use them while you have to slightly disengage from the boss, so that you're not losing out on those off-global cooldowns. Hopefully that's all they do to Viper, because right now I think this class plays fantastically. I haven't done my first impression video on it yet, but Viper is a super fun class to play. Look forward to that video coming sometime this week, most likely. Then Black Mage. Before learning the action Umbral Soul, Black Mage has difficulty recovering MP. We plan to adjust this in 0.1, and they have also got plans to adjust potencies in 0.5. Now, while leveling Black Mage before Umbral Soul might indeed be difficult, I wouldn't know. My Black Mage has been level 90 when the expansion came out, but just potency problems aren't really the main thing that makes Black Mage players so miserable right now. Black Mage kind of needs some gameplay adjustments to make it good again, and just buffing the potencies might fix their damage output in the fight. That doesn't actually change the core problems that there are with Black Mage right now. So hopefully they make some more adjustments than just potencies, because otherwise I can see a lot of Black Mage players just going Pictomancer or playing any of the other casters right now, because I do know Pictomancer is getting some adjustments as well, but it's not really talking about the fact that Pictomancer is kind of OP right now, but that's for later. Thanks, next. Players have cited concerns with holding enmity in battle due to the fact that certain jobs are able to begin encounters with high damaging attacks, an issue compounded by the removal of damage from Dark Knight and Gunbreaker's movement abilities. To help remedy this, we'll be adding increased enmity effects to the tank area of effect attacks as well as their movement abilities in 0.1. So the area of effect attacks, that's just so that's easier to hold aggro in dungeons, I would imagine. And then the movement abilities, I guess it's nice if you like use your gap closers to get to the boss or something like that. But in general, I personally haven't really had any issues holding aggro. Like, I've been leveling my Gunbreaker, haven't lost aggro on it yet to like a Pictomancer that starts with a huge burst or something like that. So I'm not quite sure if it's like an actual issue, but if they make it easier for people that are struggling with it, then I'm all for that. Although I am kind of interested to see how they're going to put aggro onto an ability that doesn't do damage. Maybe they'll make it work sort of like a provoke, where it gives you like +1 enmity or something. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm taking away from that. Just makes it easier to hold aggro. Then Samurai and Red Mage. For Samurai, we'll be reducing the recast timer of Tendo Setsugeka and Tendo Kaeshi Setsugeka. For Red Mage, we'll be extending the effect duration of Manification. For Samurai, can't really speak about this. I have not even touched my Samurai this expansion yet, so I don't really know about the new skills either. So if this reduction of the cast timer makes it more comfortable to play, then I'm all for that. For Red Mage, we'll be expanding the duration of Manification. Maybe this has something to do with you popping Manification mid-melee combo, because I do know that you could do your melee combo and then pop Manification before you do your finishers, and then you would still get 6 buff GCDs out of it. I don't recall if Manification got changed this expansion, but maybe this also has something to do with the off-global cooldown that you now get with it, because I do believe Red Mage gets an off-global cooldown attached to Manification, so maybe it has something to do with that it might be a little bit tight to fit everything in the buff window, and thus extending it will make it a bit more comfortable, which I'm fine with that as well. And then last but not least, planned Pictomancer adjustments. We've discovered an issue wherein players could manually disable the effects of Subtractive Palette, Aether Hues and Aether Hues 2. This will be addressed with patch 0.1, but we ask that you please refrain from manually removing these buffs. Basically what you could do is you could click off your buffs by right clicking them, or you could macro it for controller players out there, and it would basically make you deal more damage. However, just this little bug being in place is not really what makes Pictomancer broken right now. The class does a ridiculous amount of damage, it has a raid buff, it's got good mobility. Whenever there's downtime in the fight, the class becomes even stronger. So right now, Pictomancer is just an incredibly powerful job, does a lot of DPS, brings a raid buff, and like if there's downtime involved, it becomes even stronger. So I feel like just fixing a bug is not really going to make Pictomancer balanced. They need to get some potency nerfs as well, because otherwise Pictomancer is all people are going to be playing for week 1, which I don't really think that's healthy game design. So hopefully Pictomancer gets some more nerfs going into the next patch as well, outside of just a bug fix. So last but not least, they say that this covers all of the core issues of the adjustments that can be discussed at present. Bear in mind, of course, this does not entail everything that we have planned, and we will continue collecting feedback after the release of patches 0.1 and 0.5 as we consider further changes. So once patch 0.1 comes out, I will probably have a little patch notes that we can go through to see exactly what has been changed, because there are definitely some other classes where I would like to see like maybe some potency changes for as well. And then hopefully for the raid we get to a point where the classes are fairly balanced enough that you can kind of bring everything into week 1, which is always my hope for the game, that every class is competitive to be taken into like essentially a week 1 Savage scenario, or of course further down the line Ultimate as well, because it would be really unfortunate to see some classes just being excluded from week 1 parties just because they are not strong enough and because other alternatives are just so much more powerful. Of course, when it comes down to Party Finder, it should be fine, but I'm just talking about the competitive raiding aspect of people going for world first or going for week 1 clears, because there people will be playing what is the strongest, and I'm just hoping that the difference between what is strongest and what is weakest within a specific role is not really going to be so big that people are kind of forced to play something that they don't want to play just in order to clear the fights. But we still have a couple of weeks to go until then. You have a lot of time to make adjustments, a lot of time to collect feedback, so of course make yourself heard on the forums and that kind of stuff if there is something that you would like for them to change. And yeah, that's gonna do it for me. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of these changes. Is there something that you might want to see changed outside of the stuff that has been talked about here? Let me know down below. For now, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.